So welcome back, friends, to the online learning platform at Department of Civil Engineering. I'm Rajesh Gopinath, and we are together for the course Environmental Studies. And in the previous session, we had an understanding of environmental impact assessment and its reforms, so-called reforms. Okay. In today's presentation, we shall be understanding about global warming and climate change. So we shall understand about greenhouse effect. We shall understand the causes for global warming, the implications of the same, how do we go about controlling it, and then I shall summarize and list the references. Okay. Now, friends, when you speak about greenhouse effect, it's a natural phenomenon. What is basically that happens in a greenhouse effect? Okay, primarily, when you have radiations which are striking the Earth's surface from the sun, there could be multiple responses. Responses such as the radiations can be transmitted, the radiations can be absorbed, the radiations can be reflected, the radiations can be refracted. Okay, now that is because we have varied surfaces. Okay, Earth is not a perfect black body. That is, any surface which absorbs 100% of the solar radiation. Earth is not a perfect black body because Earth has water, it has land, okay, it has ice, it has greenery. Okay, now as an outcome of this, whenever solar radiation strikes the Earth's surface, we expect multiple responses. Now, let's further try to understand the concept of greenhouse phenomenon, which actually was discovered by Joseph Fourier, and that was probably in 1824. Okay, of course, there was further investigation carried out by Svante Arrhenius in 1896. Okay, now let's try to understand the greenhouse phenomenon, how it functions. So friends, basically what happens is when your solar energy strikes the Earth, okay, there is a quantum of energy which has been absorbed by the Earth. I'm not referring to the solar radiation which has been reflected or refracted. I am talking about the amount of energy which has been absorbed by the Earth. Let's say ice absorbs heat, it melts. Okay, water absorbs heat, it evaporates. Okay, your cement and concrete absorbs heat, gets hotter. Your land absorbs heat, gets warmer. Okay, now what basically happens is when there is a reaction wherein solar energy is being absorbed, okay, there's always an opposite reaction wherein this amount of energy is also lost. Okay, that is, during the daytime, if the solar energy is being absorbed, in the night time, basically what happens is this heat is lost. Again, different surfaces have different intensity of absorption. Similarly, different surfaces have different intensity of losing the heat. Okay, that is radiative cooling. Now, if I compare the quantum of absorption and the quantum of cooling, and if I say that if Earth loses very less, or let us say Earth starts losing all the heat, if I say that the radiative cooling is much more than the rate of absorption, then what will happen, my dear friends? Then the Earth would become a cold planet. Okay, it would no longer be your blue planet, it would become a white planet more or less. Okay, because 70% of the Earth is covered with water, and all this water would get frozen to become ice. And my dear friends, this is not good. Okay, if your Earth becomes a cold planet, if these greenhouse effect is not in place, if the greenhouse phenomenon is not applicable, if your Earth has a sub-zero condition, then every life on Earth except for some microorganisms would perish. Okay, that is because, take our case, we are Homo sapiens, we are warm-blooded animals. Okay, we cannot survive in Siberian conditions. Why only us? Look at your cold-blooded animals like reptiles, let us say snake, let us say crocodiles, your alligators. Okay, you have also seen them coming out during the sunny days and taking a sun bath or a sun bath. Okay, so which means every living being on this Earth, every creature needs heat, and that comes from sun. So it is important that the Earth doesn't lose this heat. Okay, that is where greenhouse effect is very good for us. Greenhouse effect is the reason why that every living being is still existing. Greenhouse phenomenon is the reason why that Earth is still a blue planet, and we must thank some gases for this. Okay, because there are certain gases in the Earth's upper atmosphere, okay, and the lower atmosphere. What these gases do is they do not allow the sun's radiation to reflect back to the atmosphere. These greenhouse gases will not allow the heat to be lost to your outer space, and these gases are carbon dioxide, which is coming from your operation of respiration. That is, the plants, the green plants, your forest, they indulge in photosynthesis and respiration. During respiration, they take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Okay, carbon dioxide is one major greenhouse gas which helps life to survive. Similarly, there is one more gas which is stronger than carbon dioxide and is most important for us to be alive, and that is water vapor, which is coming from your hydrological cycle or your water cycle. That is, when your water evaporates, it releases water vapor. It gets converted to water vapor. Water vapor also has a potential to trap this sunlight, to trap this heat. It has a potential not to lose the heat that it has absorbed. But what can happen if this intensity magnifies? Okay, then all the heat on the earth would remain trapped, and the earth would become a warm planet, or let us say a hot planet, or let us say a hotter planet, or let us say if these conditions continue, your earth will get transformed into a planet like Venus. So what is basically happening? Due to some reactions or due to certain operations, the natural greenhouse effect has been converted to accelerated greenhouse effect. That is, we are producing more greenhouse gases, okay, or we are producing gases which have tendency to trap heat. And when the concentration of these gases are more in the upper atmosphere, then all the heat will be towards the earth's surface itself. Friends, accelerated greenhouse effect is the major cause for global warming. Okay, have a look at this image. In your natural greenhouse effect, the greenhouse gases are very less. Okay, that is naturally it is maintained. But if you look at your man-made greenhouse effect, that is wherein we are producing more greenhouse gases, look at the intensity. Now, this will obviously make the earth to be more hotter and warmer. So now, what or who is responsible for this? We are responsible for this because we are releasing more carbon dioxide, more methane, more oxides of nitrogen, okay, more hydrofluorocarbons. We are releasing more sulfur hexafluoride. We are releasing more and more greenhouse gases into the Earth's atmosphere. Friends, it is not just the industries. We have a misconception that it is your thermal power plants or the industries who is the major cause of global warming. No, it is not that. There is transportation section, there is electricity production sector, there is your agriculture, there is a commercial sector, and we human beings, our household, okay, even your municipal sector, all are contributing to greenhouse gases. Okay, for example, if you do not switch off the fan after use, if you do not switch off the lights after use, you are also contributing to production of greenhouse gases because you are actually sucking the electricity. Electricity is coming from thermal power plants. So it is me and you who is putting stress on the industry, on the electricity generation. So we are also equally responsible. My dear friends, if I have to define global warming, I would rather define it like this: the average increase in the temperature of the Earth's surface, the average increase in the temperature of the ambient air, the average increase in the temperature of the air above the surface of the Earth, when these increase, then you call it global warming. And friends, global warming has multi-dimensional impact on the environment. For instance, if you're taking a look at the wildlife, okay, more than 1/3 of the wildlife has been lost. They have been pushed to extinction due to global warming. Okay, these images, please understand, let us say I give you an example of a penguin or a seal, or let's say a polar bear, okay, or let's say a tortoise, for instance. Okay, now let us say you have an aquarium at your house and you keep fishes. Tomorrow, if you want to bring a tortoise, please understand, tortoise does not spend its entire lifetime underwater. it also needs to come to the surface and take rest. Similarly, all these organisms that you see in front of you, they may be underwater, but they still need to come on the ice to take rest, to nest, to mate, to okay. Now what happens is when all this ice is being melted due to the rise in global warming, obviously you're leaving them no platform. They would eventually drown. Now, when it comes to the impact on the ecosystem, when I say melting of ice caps, it is, we need to understand that there are two types of ice in your Arctic and Antarctic. Okay, one is your thick ice, one is your thin ice. Friends, in your normal water cycle, there is formation of ice and melting of ice. That is a thin ice. But what is happening with global warming is there is thick ice which was formed over centuries together, which is as thick as 4 meters. Now that form of ice is breaking apart. That is the major danger of global warming. That is the real melting of ice caps. Okay. Now, this is a very good example of how much of global warming we have resulted in. These comparative images was taken by a father and a son after several decades, shows how very well all the ice or glacier or the snow has disappeared, and it has resulted in the formation of fresh water. Okay. Now this will have ecological implications. Now, see, we always speak about melting of ice caps and rising of sea level. Obviously, any area, any part of the land, let's say Maldives, Mauritius, Bombay, Chennai, okay, Calcutta, Spain, France, many parts of United Kingdom for that matter, most of them would go underwater if we continue to do this. And what is the implication of this? It is not that just the coastal areas are getting submerged, but where will those people go? People, please understand, global warming is creating environmental refugees. Okay, it is not just the animals who are moving away, migrating, even the human beings are migrating. Okay. Now the other vicious cycle aspect of your global warming is, carbon dioxide is the gas which is often blamed for global warming. No doubt, that's because majorly whatever damage has happened so far is because of carbon dioxide. But friends, we need to understand that there are other gases which are more dangerous than carbon dioxide, who are more stronger. For example, methane is 20 times stronger. Oxides of nitrogen is 40 times stronger. Okay, so there are gases which are more dangerous than carbon dioxide. Now many of these gases are trapped within the ice during their formation. Now with ice melting, these gases also will be released, and then the complications will be multifold. Now friends, having said all this, there is one major impact of global warming, and that is climate shift or climate change. We should understand that 70% of the earth is covered by water. Okay, oceanic water, and we have something called as cold currents and hot currents. Okay, now as an outcome of this, you have got seasons. You got winter, you got summer. Now what would happen if we can disturb this? Then it obviously means that you have got disrupted weather. Okay, when you expected winter to come, it never came. It came late, or it stayed for a longer time, or it stayed for a shorter time with differential intensity. Let us say summer. Okay, you had a prolonged summer and it was very hot. Friends, all this is happening because of global warming, because when there is a consequence of melting of ice caps, all that ice and snow and glacier, that is fresh water, all that fresh water, when it dissolves or when it melts, okay, when it enters into your oceanic ecosystem or your sea ecosystem, it will cause a imbalance, because the ocean and sea are saline ecosystems. Okay, when the salinity gradient is disturbed, when the thermal gradient is disturbed, then obviously you're going to have hot spots which are going to disappear from the Earth's map. So climate change eventually comes with erratic weather patterns, okay, frequent weather patterns. Let's say United States. United States is frequented by several cyclones and hurricanes. Okay, now when you have a prolonged snowfall, when you have more forest fires happening due to natural causes, when you have drought and flood happening in a same state, friends, we should understand that we are in the era of climate change. So how can we control this? Now, control measures can be at the global scale because this is a global phenomenon. Control measures can also be at individual scale. First, let's look at the global scale. There is a famous protocol called as the Kyoto Protocol. Okay, this is a protocol which was signed in 1997 by several countries, wherein they took a decision that we shall reduce the emission of carbon dioxide. Now, let us say they take a decision that we will reduce the emission of carbon dioxide by 5%. You know what it means? It means that whichever country accepts it, those countries' development will come down by 5%. You know why? Because industries will run 5% lesser time, or the machineries will run 5% lesser time, or 5% of machineries will not be in use. And as a consequence of this, though 160 countries have ratified Kyoto Protocol, including India, there were 3 countries who refused. Okay, Kazakhstan, who signed immediately after that due to pressure from United States of America. Second is Australia, who signed it in 2007 when there was a change in leadership. But there is still one country who has refused to sign it, and that's your Big Apple. That is United States of America itself. Kyoto Protocol has since then, changed its names. We had the COP summit. Okay, we had the Bali summit. Okay, so your Paris summit. So, but what is happening is as we move on from one summit to another summit, okay, the human ego is taking priority. That is why you see more protest on the roads. That is why you see more of environmental stewards coming up, because decision taken by a politician or a group of politicians, okay, without any rational explanation, without any scientific backing, can be disastrous for the humanity. Okay, now, if your leaders are not doing your work, does it mean that we can't do it? My dear friends, I and you also can take measures at our own scale. Okay, switch off your laptop after use. Okay, switch off any electrical appliances when they're not in use. Do not use screensavers for your devices. Okay, do not use any appliance when you feel it is not required. Okay, grow saplings, protect forest, protect the trees in and around your house. Okay, when you come to power, take decisions which are environmentally friendly. There are so many things everyone can do. I and you, we can make a difference provided we are sensitive to it. Okay, please understand, if climate change continues, if global warming continues, then it is the human beings who will be eradicated first. Okay, now as we come to the summary, I'll show you a small video and then we shall summarize.
For 2.5 million years, the Earth's climate has fluctuated, cycling from ice ages to warmer periods. But in the last century, the planet's temperature has risen unusually fast, about 1.2 to 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Scientists believe it's human activity that's driving the temperatures up, a process known as global warming. Ever since the Industrial Revolution began, factories, power plants, and eventually cars have burned fossil fuels such as oil and coal, releasing huge amounts of carbon dioxide and other gases into the atmosphere. These greenhouse gases trap heat near the Earth through a naturally occurring process called the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect begins with the sun and the energy it radiates to the Earth. The Earth and the atmosphere absorb some of this energy, while the rest is radiated back into space. Naturally occurring gases in the atmosphere trap some of this energy and reflect it back, warming the Earth. Scientists now believe that the greenhouse effect is being intensified by the extra greenhouse gases that humans have released. Evidence for global warming includes a recent string of very warm years. Scientists report that 1998 was the warmest year in measured history, with 2005 coming in second. Meanwhile, readings taken from ice cores show that the greenhouse gases carbon dioxide and methane have hit their highest levels in the past 420,000 years. Arctic sea ice is also shrinking. According to NASA studies, the extent of Arctic sea ice has declined about 10% in the last 30 years. As long as industrialized nations consume energy and developing countries increase their fossil fuel consumption, the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere will continue to rise. Researchers predict that temperatures will increase about 2 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of the century. What's less certain is what rising temperatures mean for the planet. Some climate models predict subtle changes. Others forecast rising sea levels which could flood coastal areas around the world. Weather patterns could change, making hurricanes more frequent. Severe droughts could become more common in warm areas, and species unable to adapt to the changing conditions would face extinction. Although much remains to be learned about global warming, many organizations advocate cutting greenhouse gas emissions to reduce the impact of global warming. Consumers can help by saving energy around the house, switching to compact fluorescent light bulbs, and driving fewer miles in the car each week. These simple changes may help keep the Earth cooler in the future.
So I hope that has enhanced your understanding of the concept of global warming. So friends, what did we understand today? We understood the causes, the impacts, and the probable control measures for global warming. These are the references for your kind perusal. Kindly go through these to enhance your understanding. In the subsequent classes, we shall continue with environmental pollution and abatement with the help of case studies. The image on the left-hand side is from Belandur, and the image on the right-hand side is the infamed Minamata Bay disaster. Now, we shall understand more in the subsequent classes with respect to environmental pollution. It could be ozone depletion, it could be plastic pollution as well. So friends, I thank you for your kind patience once again. Now we are open for any questions that you might have. Thank you.